Okay, let's unpack this. Picture this. A brand new husband and wife vanish from their apartment. Not a trace, no forced entry, no struggle.
Right.
But here's the kicker. The thing that keeps this case alive, 9 years later, 22 security cameras that somehow missed their departure.
Mm-hmm.
We're diving into a modern-day locked room mystery out of Busan, South Korea. A puzzle that has, well, captivated the public and really stumped investigators.
Exactly. This deep dive takes us into the perplexing disappearance of To, or Jean, and Choi, back in May 2016. We've looked at transcripts from multiple YouTube channels, all digging into this widely publicized and still unsolved case.
They're quite something.
The sheer level of media and public attention around this mystery in South Korea is remarkable in itself.
It really is. This wasn't some quiet vanishing act. This was like headline news.
Yeah.
So let's set the scene for you. The story really starts to unravel on May 31st, 2016. The husband, as father, hadn't heard from his son since May 28th, and understandably, he panicked. He even went to A's restaurant the day before, only to be told his son hadn't been around.
Right. And the couple at the heart of this mystery, the husband, he co-owned a restaurant.
Yeah.
And Vala, the wife, was a musical actress who also lectured occasionally.
Okay.
They were newlyweds, only married 6 months after dating for 2 years. And by all accounts, both families were apparently very happy about their marriage. It seemed like, a picture of domestic bliss.
A happy start, yeah. But then the father goes to their apartment on May 31st, police in tow, and what do they find?
An empty apartment.
An empty space. Except for one incredibly telling detail. Their dog. Now, this is significant because O and All reportedly took their beloved pet absolutely everywhere with them.
Everywhere, yeah.
Its presence in the empty apartment just screams that something was wrong.
And what stands out immediately is the lack of any indication of foul play inside the apartment itself. It was clean, no signs of forced entry, no signs of a struggle.
Right.
This absence of chaos sort of suggests a departure that might have been voluntary, or at least not the result of violence right there in their home.
But here's where the plot thickens, right? Initially, investigators noted 4 things missing.
Okay, what were they?
Some of the wife's long-sleeve clothing, their 2 wallets, their 2 laptops, and crucially, their passports.
Passports, okay.
This list almost immediately conjured the image of a spontaneous getaway, maybe even, across international borders.
That would be the most straightforward interpretation, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
A sudden decision to just leave.
Exactly.
However, if we connect this to the crucial follow-up, the police found absolutely zero record of either of them leaving the country. None.
0. And their car.
Still sitting in the apartment complex parking lot, their main way of getting around.
So that contradiction, it just immediately deepens the mystery, doesn't it?
Absolute.
No plane tickets, no missing car. So how do 2 people just disappear from their own home?
Well, the next piece of this perplexing puzzle is the security footage.
The 22 cameras. Yep. Elevator surveillance confirmed they both returned to their apartment. Howes was seen at 11:31 p.m. on May 27th carrying groceries.
Okay. Normal activity.
Totally normal. The husband, Howes, arrived much later, 3:45 a.m. on May 28th. Crucially, both appeared to be acting completely normally on the footage.
And this is where that sort of locked room aspect really takes hold of this case.
Definitely.
Despite having 22 security cameras apparently placed strategically throughout the building, no footage ever captured either Eight or Well leaving the premises after those recorded return times.
It's almost unbelievable in a modern surveilled environment like that.
It really is.
It is baffling. A modern apartment building seemingly blanketed in security, yet they vanish without a single frame of evidence showing them go. But the police investigation did uncover a potential flaw, didn't they? Some possible blind spot.
Yes, that's right. The investigation revealed that it was theoretically possible, maybe, to evade all 22 cameras by using the fire escape stairs, specifically the ones on the north side of the building, then sticking really close to the outer walls to avoid any exterior camera angles, and then exiting the parking lot through a specific, rarely used emergency exit. So it was plausible, at least in theory, for someone with knowledge of these blind spots to leave undetected.
Okay, so a physical escape without being seen was potentially possible, but the core question remains. Why? Why would they choose to leave in this clandestine way?
Exactly. Which leads us to the trail of their digital communications in the days following their last appearance on camera.
Right, the texts and calls.
What's particularly noteworthy about their digital footprint is the timing and, well, the nature of the messages. On May 28th, early afternoon, the husband, Lahr, sends a text to his restaurant partner,
What did it say?
informing him they'd need to close early because of a family matter. Then, later that night, around midnight, the wife texted her theater group, saying she couldn't attend the next day's rehearsal because of poor health, which apparently was a reason she had used before, even claiming hospitalization once.
Interesting. Then the situation takes another strange turn. On May 29th, Lange transferred the restaurant's operating funds to his partner.
The money? Okay.
Then he calls his partner, says a serious family issue would keep him away from the restaurant for like an extended period. He even brings up possibly transferring ownership entirely.
Wow.
But then the call just abruptly ended before his partner could ask any questions. Just click.
Strange. And the digital activity continues into the next day, May 30th.
Oh,
Sends another text message to her theater group.
same reason.
Same reason. Again, stating she couldn't perform and, echoing her previous message, mentioned being hospitalized. Then, May 31st, this makes a phone call to Land's colleague,
Saying what?
stating his wife was hospitalized and wouldn't be able to return to the group. And again, he hung up the call very quickly.
Now, here's a crucial detail that immediately raises red flags for me, while Lynn is making actual phone calls.
Right. Direct voice contact.
All of Thew's communication after her last sighting is via text message. And not just that, the messages are reported to be phrased in a way that was uncharacteristic of her usual writing style.
That's a huge point.
It immediately begs the question, was someone else sending those texts pretending to be her?
This discrepancy in their communication methods after they disappeared is deeply concerning, isn't it?
It really is.
The fact that apparently no one reported speaking directly with A during this period, it certainly casts doubt on the authenticity of those texts attributed to her. It forces us to consider, deception in their digital footprint.
And just when you think the situation can't get any more bizarre, Dee's father.
The one who reported them missing.
The very same one. He does a complete about-face. On June 2nd, just 3 days after going to the police in a panic, he suddenly claims he has been in contact with his son and asks the authorities to stop their investigation.
Wait, what? Stop investigating.
Yes.
That sudden shift is highly suspicious. To go from expressing serious concern to suddenly claiming everything is fine based on what maybe a single text message, it just doesn't ring true.
Not at all.
And adding to this intrigue is the fact that Usha's parents reportedly moved, sort of inexplicably, shortly after this.
Meanwhile, Ulsa's family is, understandably, completely distraught. They're actively pushing the police to keep searching for their daughter.
Of course.
This created a significant and, painful conflict between the two families. Suspicion naturally fell on Ulsa's father as someone potentially withholding crucial information.
And the police rightly viewed his sudden change of heart with, well, a lot of skepticism.
As they should.
So the police investigation continued despite the father's request. Their checks of all nearby hospitals revealed nothing. No records whatsoever of either Osa or Own being admitted or treated.
So the hospitalization claims were false.
Apparently so. Furthermore, analysis of phone location data showed that O's phone was in the vicinity of their apartment at the time he made that call to the theater group on May 31st.
Okay, consistent with him being in Busan. But here's another perplexing twist in this already completely convoluted case.
Go on.
Ul's phone signal was last detected in Busan, near his father's residence, after that supposed safe text message on June 2nd. Okay?
Right, Busan.
But Ul's last phone signal, it was detected way over in the Gangdong district of Seoul.
Seoul. That's what, over 300 kilometers away?
Over 300 kilometers from Busan.
A huge distance.
Wow. Okay, that's significant discrepancy in their last known phone locations, especially when you remember their car was still in Busan.
Exactly.
It strongly suggests that if they did leave their apartment, they may not have traveled together. Or maybe one of their phones was moved separately. It just adds another layer of complexity.
It really does. So where does this leave investigators? Well, the trail then leads to a very significant person of interest. Oh Sol's former girlfriend, O's or Jang Mi-jin. The ex-girlfriend.
And their backstory is incredibly tangled and dramatic.
What's particularly striking about their history is just the depth of the emotional turmoil. Their initial breakup because her parents disapproved.
Okay.
Then she got married briefly,
Yeah.
but had an affair with Yu during that marriage.
Oh, wow.
And then even after he married, Yu apparently continued to maintain contact with Q. He even had a separate phone just for talking to her.
A burner phone, essentially.
Seems like it. Their calls would last for hours, apparently. And Yu reportedly even expressed feeling sort of controlled by her.
This narrative takes an even darker turn, doesn't it? Just 2 months before Yu's wedding to Yu's daughter, who was living in Norway, tragically passed away.
Oh, that's terrible.
Following this devastating event, Yu's behavior towards Yu became increasingly erratic and disturbing. Reports say she blamed him for her loss, demanded significant financial compensation, allegedly to freeze her daughter's body, and even issued threats against Yu's marriage.
That's intense pressure.
And Wool, who was already reportedly suffering from depression, was apparently deeply affected by this harassment and these death threats. Just imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Then, in May 2016, right around the time Ols announced she was pregnant,
Oh, timing.
turned to South Korea. And her activities while she was in the country were certainly suspicious.
How so?
Well, despite seemingly having money, she chose to stay in budget places like saunas and motels, places that didn't require extensive ID. She also primarily used cash for everything.
Making her movements hard to track.
Incredibly hard to trace. And notably, she didn't contact any family or friends during this entire time she was back in Korea.
And here's a massive red flag that investigators must have jumped on. Yu's abruptly left South Korea on June 7th.
June 7th, just days after they vanished.
Just days after Olwu's vanished, cutting her planned trip short by several days. It's highly suspicious timing, isn't it?
Extremely. Adding to the unsettling nature of this case is that very cryptic and frankly disturbing remark from Ol's father.
What was that again?
He apparently said something about his daughter-in-law wanting to go to a very far place and possibly being in a temple, which in Korean culture can sometimes be where ashes are housed.
That's chilling. A very chilling detail, even if it's unconfirmed.
It really is. And further fueling suspicion, Iju refused to cooperate with the police investigation. Her husband initially actively hindered their attempts to even contact her.
So obstruction.
Pretty much. Ultimately, the Korean police sought her extradition from Norway where she was living.
Did they get it?
No. The extradition request was denied. Authorities in Norway felt there was insufficient evidence at that time, despite an initial arrest having been made there.
Frustrating.
And tragically, a later chance to appeal that decision was apparently missed due to bureaucratic delays, so she remained in Norway.
So with all these bizarre and unsettling details swirling around, the unanswered questions really begin to pile up, don't they?
They certainly do.
Was this a case of murder orchestrated by Iju? Maybe even with Osa's involvement somehow?
It's a theory, but the lack of any sign of struggle in the apartment and Loa's confirmed activities that night, it poses challenges to that idea.
And what about that unopened carton of milk in the fridge? It seems like a small detail, but it creates a real puzzle in terms of the timeline. When was it bought? When were they planning to use it?
Right. Alternatively, could this have been a tragic instance of suicide by Lo? Given her documented history of depression, the pregnancy, the immense strain from Zhang Mijin's harassment.
It's a possibility.
If so, was Lo involved in a cover-up? Maybe he even enlisted Zhang Mijin's help in avoiding the surveillance cameras.
That would explain the weird exit.
Possibly. And the fact that sleeping pills were reported missing from the apartment does lend some grim weight to this possibility.
Or, third option, did Lai Zoro make the drastic decision to stage their own disappearance? A desperate attempt to escape Zhang Mijin's threats and just start over somewhere else.
The complete lack of any financial activity linked to them since they vanished makes that seem less probable. Usually starting over requires money, resources.
True, but in a case this strange, can you definitively rule anything out?
That's the thing. You really can't. And the truly sobering aspect of this deep dive is that after 9 long years, as mentioned in the YouTube videos we analyzed, the case remains unsolved.
9 years.
However, the Korean government has publicly stated its ongoing commitment to continuing the investigation into this deeply unsettling mystery.
So as we try to piece together this incredible puzzle, let's just quickly recap the truly baffling elements. We have a disappearance from a seemingly locked apartment.
with no clear exit on extensive security footage,
We have conflicting digital footprints, the wife only texting, uncharacteristically.
while the husband makes calls.
We have the father who inexplicably tries to shut down the investigation days after starting it.
Highly suspicious behavior.
We have that significant distance between their last detected phone signals, Busan versus Seoul, despite their car being left behind.
A major geographical inconsistency.
And of course, we have the incredibly suspicious timing and actions of the obsessive ex-girlfriend, too.
Yeah, her involvement or potential involvement looms large.
Ultimately, the central and haunting question that remains is, what truly happened to Yualir?
Was it a meticulously planned and executed crime? A tragic instance of suicide? Or a devastating accident? Or a desperate and perhaps successful attempt to vanish from a dangerous situation?
It makes you think, doesn't it? Consider this, if you will, in our hyper-connected world, where every move can potentially leave a digital breadcrumb trail.
Right, where we think everything is tracked.
What does this case reveal about the limitations of surveillance? About the enduring capacity for secrets? What specific details from this deep dive resonated most with you, and why do you think they did?
It's complex web.
This case serves as a truly chilling reminder that even in an age of near constant tracking, individuals can seemingly just vanish without a trace, leaving behind a complex and deeply unsettling puzzle with pieces that simply refuse to fit.